Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I hope we're feeling positive after yesterday's performance. Welcome to a new show that Johnny and I will be doing, which is called Ange-r Management, where we're going to assess everything in the game straight after it and get it out to you. And my host or co-host in this series will be my good man, Johnny. How are you, my man?
I'm very well. You know, I've got to say, after the depression of last season, this was a great way to start. And yeah, we lost, but listen, there's a lot to be happy about.
Well, so truth, Johnny. In all honesty, like I was saying on the spaces, and as I said,
yeah,
the results in your first they mean nothing, do they? It's really about fitness, team gelling, performance. It's not results, is it?
No, I mean, look, the thing is here. Let's put it all in context. You know, this was West Ham's third game. This was our first game.
Yeah.
3/4 of that squad only came back on Wednesday. They flew out on Friday. They had a ridiculous flight out. I mean, West Ham have already been there. They're acclimatised. Some of the players were still up at 4 o'clock in the morning the night before the game, unable to sleep. I won't say which ones, but the point of the matter is here, you know, we have to take all of that into context. So West Ham were fitter. They had more game time and they were more acclimatised and less jet lag. So I think considering all of that, we really did stand out.
Completely agree. So let's break this down. We've got 4 sections we're going to go through, and we're going to start with, and it's really nitpicking because we're going to talk a lot more about the positive than the negatives. But Johnny, negatives for you, if any?
Well, we haven't got any centre backs. You know, why not? You want to give a guy a job? Why not? You know, tie his hands behind his back. Is he towing the line? That's the only thing I'm a bit upset about with Ange. I was expecting this honesty to stretch right across the field, right, to actually say, you know, these guys aren't good enough. I'm not taking them on the trip. As Scott Munn's not there, did Levy said, well, look, you know, Ange, these are the players I've bought. I want you to have a look at them before we get rid of them. See if there's any there you fancy. I don't think there's much there defensively that you would want to keep from the old guard I'm talking about. I think Tanga, well, I'm not going to go into players in specifics, but I think we could see the frailties. Set pieces was a big weakness today. And the defensive weakness was all there for everyone to see. I'm very disappointed, like many fans. 3 years we've waited for centre backs, and they should have been as exciting as the signings we've made. Those centre backs should have been in situ and on that plane. At least one, maybe a Mickey van der Ven on that left-hand side, because great teams are formed with great defensive partnerships. You know, Vertonghen was a good defender, but it wasn't until Toby arrived that they had that fantastic partnership. And partnerships take time to blend and be put together. They don't happen overnight. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, it's okay, there's plenty of time in the window. I don't want to be trying to trial out a defender and demoralise him playing Brentford and Man United. He should be there ASAP. Let's get it done. That for me was the negative. So I don't know about for yourself.
Yeah, I won't go into much more about the defence. It was there for all to see. One I'm going to talk about very quickly, and the second one is just comical and typical Spurs. So said to you earlier, I think the one thing that's worried me slightly, and like you said, first game, they've just got off a plane. People haven't returned along from training or their summer holiday. But to have 30 attempts on goal and only get 2 goals. We did this occasionally with Poch, where we did everything right from scoring. That was but like you said, this is me really nitpicking and trying to find or looking for something different. I just think that could cost us, and that's something that needs to be worked on. If they have 4 attempts, 4 on target, 3 goals, regardless of who you're playing, when you play them, and you have 30 odd attempts and can only get 2, that's a concern. But the other one, which everyone was talking about, now obviously I will not pay the Spurs play, but I was able to watch the game.
Oh,
And for these wonderful people that pay this lovely fee to be able to watch the game, well, you were treated to a little bonus, weren't you? You had the echoey commentary, and then you had multilingual.
I had that, right?
I think there was Korean, there was African, and then the commentators actually had to say, if you're having issues, please refresh your screen. And it should have. I mean, how embarrassingly!
It was laughable. I actually thought that my, like sometimes they have two things playing at the same time. I thought I'd press something. I had Africa, then I had Korean or Asian language.
Yep.
I had the echo. I couldn't hear a word Clive Allen was saying. As for the 30 chances, I actually looked at as a positive. I'll tell you why. Because yes, we should have put the ball in the net, but my God, we put ourselves non-stop. I mean, like that was. We were creating all over the park. So I hear what you're saying. Maybe it's
a bit of both, Johnny. Maybe it's a bit of both. I think you need to be a bit more ruthless. But like you said, I've been mentioning this in the positive. So now now we've said what, and it was really, they were the only two real negatives plus the Spurs play debacle. But let's talk about a couple of players. What players do you think didn't cover themselves in any glory?
It's not going to go down well. Porro is not a right back, guys. Okay,
completely agree with you.
He's a very good right winger. He's a fantastic cross of the ball. He's got great pace, got great finishing. Right? Sorry, just not good enough. Reguilón didn't have a great. I mean, he was at fault for the goal at the back post, but I do think he could be a backup for Udogie. Yeah. Davis, for me, I give up. And I've got to say, Oliver Skipp is probably the fittest one there at the moment because he's just come from the under-21s. He's not going to get minutes in this Ange team. He's technically not good enough. I'm not disrespecting Skippy, but he's technically not good enough. Tanganga had his moments. I'm gonna say something really weird here, right?
Go on, far away.
I actually thought that defensively we were good in the sense that we only gave away four chances the whole game. Why? Because we possessed the ball. Okay, we lost those goals through set pieces, and we didn't give much away. Why? Because we held the ball. We under Conte's system, what we do is we give them the ball and wait for our defenders to screw up, camped at the edge of our box.
Yep.
But if you've got the ball, right, the defence has got less to worry about. I don't know what the possession numbers were. They were high 70s.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they were. Like you said, just imagine if there was a centre-back pairing, because the rest of the stuff that we talk positively, there's a lot to get our teeth into. But yeah, set pieces was just abysmal, absolutely abysmal. Tanganga, we were talking earlier before the match even started. He seems to like Tanganga, doesn't he? And he's due a chance if he can keep fit. But do you reckon he gave a good account of himself? Can you say he starts against Leicester?
Listen, I think we're too quick to judge. This is his first game. They need minutes. They need time. You could look at various players. Look, Harry Kane looked like he was going through the motions, right? But,
yep.
If you said, you're not allowed to say that, okay, because Harry Kane doesn't start till September. We all know he doesn't play in August. But on the same flip of the coin, Richarlison came on in that second half, right? And he was making a lot of runs, right? He was pressing on the line. He hit the post. He was trying. He was snatching. He was trying too hard. But he was slaughtered, right? He was absolutely slaughtered. I thought that him and Gio actually linked quite well. Now, what Richarlison was doing was creating space with those runs for the midfield, because our midfield in the second half was much better. So the negative for the many fans was Richarlison. But if you know your football and you understand, he was creating a lot of gaps for the midfield, and we looked very good in that second half, much better. So he would be a negative, snatching at things. Kane would have been a negative because he didn't really do much. You know, is that because he's not fit, or is that because he doesn't want to get injured? And Skip, I'm trying to think who else. Sanchez made a mistake. I think that's about it. I know people were going on about Big Vic. I don't think you can blame him for the goals, personally.
But that first one, maybe, second one, not a doubt. But I'll tell you what, I went on We Are Tottenham TV after the match. And when I was talking with Ben and Simeon, they said they saw a lot of things in the chat on their stream and on Twitter saying that Harry Kane kept playing too deep and kept getting into Maddison's space and kept dropping. And they said that could be a reason. And then my response to it was, we kind of had this discussion last season with Perisic and Son. And I think Kane now has been so used to dropping deep to create and to score that it's just literally become a part of his game. And I think Ange has got to say to him now, if he's still here, you don't need to do that. Maddison's there. Stay up the top. You're going to get your chances because of Maddison. But like you said, he came back Wednesday. He literally flew to Australia 2 days later. All the
nonsense. Yeah.
But this is the thing. But you are right. I heard you on another stream, and I heard you on the space. You're right that Kane got away with because it's Kane, because you can't say anything. And
he's got money in the bank, right? Richarlison doesn't.
Completely. And this is the thing, come game day, 30 goals, 25 goals, whatever, that's what you're going to get with him. But the other thing, before we move on to the positives, and you said it at the beginning, I can't agree with you more. Porro is a winger. Needs to spend his whole season battling Kulusevski. You never know.
I don't think he can see anything. His perception about balls behind him is just non-existent.
I think Ange might be able to work on him and do whatever, but if you got Emerson, who obviously we'll speak about, and Spence or whatever's happening, I think he's more an asset. We saw it at the end of the season. He is much more involved and much more of a threat at right wing as opposed to wing back. But that's enough of the negatives, because, like I said, we'll get onto the positives now. And before I let you go on your massive amount of positives, which we're all going to discuss because there's a lot, I have to say, I think we had more attempts in that game than we did in the last 2 months of the season combined. We wanted attacking football, and within weeks of him being back in training, boy, did we get it. I mean, night and day, Johnny. Go on with your list of positives.
I just think it was, thank God. Thank God. I've been waiting for this for 3.5, 4 years. I love my club, but it's been painful. It's been so painful. And, whenever I said anything about Mourinho or Conte, I've been slaughtered. But when I watched that today, it gave me hope that football's not dead. The passing, the possession, the crossing, the shots. And this is in a short space of time. This is. I expected, speaking to some of the Celtic boys I've had on my space, I've had quite a few. They said, expect a few weeks of bumps in the road where things aren't going to go right while they're getting used to the system. And it didn't always work, but I've said this before. I don't believe that Kulu and Son are absolutely perfect for Ange's system of hugging the flanks, and he needs proper out-and-out wingers. So I had an argument with some people when we signed Solomon. They said it's a Levy signing. He's cheap. That's the only way we got it. We should have bought Harvey Barnes. And I said, no, Solomon is great on playing on that flank, right hugging that touchline and one-on-ones. And first half, he was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
He really was. Basuma was superb. And Basuma, there was moments there where he dropped back to almost be a centre-back at times, just to cover for the counter-attack. And then before you know it, he'd made the run and he was in the box and he was unlucky, not to score. I thought he was fantastic. The crossing was very good. I thought the save from Big Vic in the first half was absolutely superb. When he got down with his left hand, I don't think that he would have got there, Lloris. He's 6'4". I don't know if he would have got there. He's 6'1", isn't he, Lloris?
Around that.
It was fantastic. The second half, well, I mean, I don't know where to start, really. My man, the guy I've been going on about for a long, long time, Gio, was just, I mean, he bossed it. He absolutely bossed it in that half. And like I say, with Richie pushing on, at the front there, he left so much space. He was taking a couple of defenders with him. Gio was running through the middle, slipping the ball left, slipping the ball right. And Pape Sarr, wow. I mean, he has levels. He has levels to go. He is going to be such a talent. I know I get slaughtered as well when I say he looks like a young
Vieira.
Patrick Vieira, yeah. I didn't say he was Vieira. I said he reminds me of a young Patrick Vieira. The long legs, the heavy stride. He's got it all. The interceptions, the tackling, the passing, the shooting. I thought Devine did very well on that on the flank there. It's not his top position, but he's come in there. He was not overruled. He looked natural in that team. I thought Udogie came on, was the pace. Look how quickly he took that ball from the left side, right, to attack, right, linking up with Gio. Gio was spreading that ball left and right. The crosses were coming in. And another thing, I know Perisic gets a lot of stick, but bear in mind, up to the age of 31, Perisic was one of the world's best left-sided wingers, right?
Yeah.
It was only when Conte, the meddler, decided, you know what, I'm going to make him as a left wing back because you can get away with it in Italy. Bought him here, and he isn't a left wing back, right? He still managed to get 11 assists and a goal. But I said, in Ange's system, if you put him on the bench, here's a guy that you can bring on 20 minutes to go, and he's going to cause havoc on that left wing, right? Because he can beat a man. He's got the experience. He's got the head. You saw him in the Nations League. 2 assists today. 2 assists. I just thought it was all extremely positive. The passing and movement. If you've got the ball, the opposition can't score. I know it's West Ham, but the possession, the 2-touch passing, Gio's in his element, right? That's his game. So when people say he can't play this system, he's shit. The problem was he was signed for Pochettino in a progressive system and he ended up in this system, which is no good for him. He goes to Villarreal. He drags them to the semi-finals of the Champions League. He's the mainstay of the Argentinian team. If you hear Messi talk about Gio and how good he is, I think there's so many positives. And also, I would say the depth of that team. When you analyse those 2 halves, I think it's so much. If you stand in front of that defence and you look forward, I don't think there's a team in the Premier League that isn't going to be worried about us going forward. Just don't look behind you. It's like the pantomime. It's behind you. The disaster's behind you.
You know what, Johnny? Like we said, we're going to go into special mentions and go deep into some players momentarily. But I'll pick up a few positives that you didn't mention. First of all,
loads of them.
What I will say is just going on about Basuma very quick. We're going to go into him in a lot more detail. But you know what? Off the pitch, when you see the stuff on YouTube or whatever Spurs are releasing, he looks like he's got a new lease of life, and he looks like he's the centre of everything. He looks like a Lucas Moura did in the dressing room of Sonny. He looks so.
He's DJ.
He looks so positive. But what I will say is, second half Tottenham turned up in a good way, like we were doing last season. But that second team that came on, you thought all the youngsters coming on. I think we looked better in the second half than we did the first half, and that wasn't with. It was incredible to see, just to keep seeing, even at 2-0 again. Again, these are only friendlies. It means nothing.
Yeah.
To see the desire to put out there, to perform, to just, like you said, the movement. We haven't seen movement like that since Poch, Redknapp, and we have been absolute. Don't get me wrong. During Conte, sometimes when we were right up there, like the Arsenal game, Norwich when we won 5-0, we had our moments. But I can't remember the last time we had 70%, 30 shots on goal. There was just
40 crosses.
I said it was like we all popped Tottenham Viagra, and we finally got to see what we wanted to. And like you said, after a few training sessions, they've taken on what the manager said. A lot of these players have been with defensive managers, but they have attacking tendencies and have had the shackles on them. I think you're right with Perisic. We had our two wing backs, Perisic and Porro, who I think they could be real threats if they just stick to being advanced. If we get Perisic playing, like you said, as a left winger, coming off the bench or starting, then he's going to wreak havoc. There was just literally, and it's so nice for doing a stream or seeing on social media, we're actually talking about football. We're actually talking about football. So what we now go on to, we'll go a player each that we think, and then we'll have a little discussion about them. So, Johnny, who's the first person you want to give a special mention to?
Well, I've gone on about him already, but I sort of went off topic there because I couldn't help it. But Gio, I just hope that he wants to stay, because if Ange saw that today, I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, right? I know. Listen, I love my football. I know my football, and I called this as soon as Ange was appointed, and I saw his style of play. I said, there is no chance that this guy is not going to be part of it. The only thing that's going to stop him is, does he want to stay? He needs to feel wanted. These rumours, these terrible rumours that he's a bad egg, no one likes him. I didn't see any of that, did you? I didn't see any of that, right? So, let's wait and see. If he wants to stay here, he's going to get minutes, because Maddison is going to get injured, right? And quite honestly, he outshone Maddison today. And Maddison has had full training. Gio only literally came back Wednesday, right?
Yep.
And he outshone him. All right, let's see what happens in the next game. But for me, we can go flip pro. So you go to the next one now.
Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll have a little mention on the cell, so then I'll do mine and you have a little. We'll go back and forth. I did a show a couple of weeks ago with James Flower, a good friend of yours and mine, and on the space.
We both go on about Gio.
Yeah, we had this chat about Ndombele and Lo Celso when we're talking about the people we got to clear out.
Yeah.
And do you remember when me and Ben actually did a live together last week? He desperately wanted to come on, but I said, listen, we're doing this. I'll do a show with you. And when we're talking about which one do you keep, Lo Celso or Ndombele, he argued, and I kind of got it, saying Ndombele, if we kept him, and he was a bench player, we all know he can't do a full game, but coming on with 20, 30 minutes, he can be devastating. So if Ange can do it, so I was kind of leaning, even though I don't forgive him for what he did at Morecambe, and I was like, if Ange backs him, I back him. But I really wanted Lo Celso gone. But I tell you what, after a performance like today, and seeing that the attitude wasn't there and what he could do, he's definitely put a huge marker down. So that impressed me. My one I'm going to mention first, and you mentioned him and saying when we talked about the signing, Manuel Solomon, a fellow Jew, Israeli. Listen, when we signed him, don't get me wrong. Of course, when it was a free transfer, everyone was going to talk Levy signing. To me, and everyone knows how I stand with that man, I thought in the long run it could be one of the shrewdest signings of the season, but it could only be one of the shrewdest if the money we saved spending went towards sorting the centre-backs out. We all know what Manuel Solomon, or people might have seen with film. One of the things he does, his work rate is astronomical, direct, quick, nippy, and will frighten players.
One-on-one take on.
Yeah, and in that first half, anything positive going forward, he was involved in. He gave an incredible account for himself. And I think for me, he was the first positive one we're talking about. I'm not doing this in order, but I remember you saying about the grief you got. So what was your thoughts on Manor?
Well, I thought King Solomon in the first half. You know? He was. Huh? Hail King Solomon, right? He just kept ripping them apart, okay? Howie didn't score. Skip should have scored. Basuma should have scored.
Romero should have
scored. Romero should have scored. You know, we could have had a cricket score today.
Yep.
And then we would really been raving. And we would have been going on and on and on. I just saw happiness. I had a smile on my face. I didn't even care that we were missing the chances, to be honest with you. Yes, they were a bit frustrating. But it was just the excitement of attacking football, direct play, two-touch passing. He doesn't want you to hold on to the ball and pass backwards and sideways and bang, 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 bang. Triangles, people making themselves available. Manor linked very well down that left-hand side. I thought he was superb. Him and Basuma, for me, were the standout stars of the first half. Kulu crossed okay. I'm still not 100% convinced he can play out on that flank. We've got a bundle of talent. So if I was doing someone else,
before you go on to your next one, I have to say, and I'm going to send it to Spurs song sheet. Like Ronnie Rosenthal, if they don't start singing "Man or oh man oh man or oh man oh man or oh man of Solomon," hey, I'm going to be very, very upset because that's an obvious one for him. It writes itself. But yeah, your next one, Johnny.
So many. Pape Sarr. What a talent. You know, he came to the club and Conte wasn't too kind to him. He went off to the World Cup and instead of going on holiday, he decided he'd come back and show Conte, you know, that he wants to play. Conte didn't even come back because he was late back from for his holiday. Imagine a player being late coming back. He looked at him and said, "I don't want him. He can go out on loan." Yeah. The club said, "We don't want him to go on loan. I've got nothing to do with him." Right. And then we saw that game that night where the club needed him. You know, Conte might not have wanted him, but the club needed him. And he got out there that night and he was man of the match. He was head and shoulders above everybody else. No. And what happened? He got dropped again. Okay. Like he never played. So he's got mental resilience. And I've got to tell you, from what I heard, he got a bollocking from Ange on the touchline in training last night. A 4 or 5 minute roasting. And the players came and they surrounded him. But it didn't stop Ange picking him yesterday for tonight's game. And he was fantastic. He was so composed. Him and Gio in the middle of the park. He was utilising the space that was created by Richarlison. He was on the edge of the box. He had a shot that wasn't far away. He's just got so much talent. I mean, I'm sorry, Skippy, but mate, you can't hold a candle to this kid, right? I don't know what the possibilities are for him, but his interceptions, his tackling, he might look spindly, but he can get stuck in, and he's got a shot on him as well. Very, 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 very impressed with him.
So, right, let me tell you, Pape Sarr. So, when we signed him, which was before I knew you, I went absolutely bonkers because I knew he was a talent and he's going to come through the ranks soon. But at that time, we desperately needed work in the first team. Desperately. So I was fuming with the signing. I went to the Palace away game when we won 4-0.
That's when Gill played, right?
When Brian Gill played very, very well as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he came off the bench for a brief moment. And he just did something during the game. Nothing major, but just shrugged a couple of people off in midfield and ran with the ball.
Yeah.
Very Moussa Dembele, kind of shrug him off, get the ball forward. I was like, oh, hold on a minute. Then I was at the next game against Portsmouth when he played in the FA Cup. And all right, it's only Portsmouth. Gave a great account of himself. Then against Milan, like you said, when the club needed him, when we were stripped to the bare bones, that performance was absolutely astronomical, and it infuriated me, especially when Skip and Højbjerg near the end of the season were just knackered and not put. Do you know what? I take back all the bollocking and how annoyed and how frustrated I was, because, like you said, I see the links to Vieira. I see the resemblance. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think on our hands we have a very, very, very gifted player that, under the right manager, and look, like you said, if you got that bollocking to then say, okay, I'm sorry, I take what you're saying on board, and then do that, incredible, absolutely incredible. And I think he's
2 years older than him. Is it 2 or 3 years older than
something like that? He's well advanced of him. He's well advanced. Next person I'm going to talk about, and you know who I'm going to say because I have waxed lyrical about him for years. Alfie Devine. Listen, he came out on the wing, which isn't his position. For a kid at his age to just come on and want to get involved in everything. Okay, a couple of his passes were a little bit heavy and decision making, but he's had such rare opportunities, like with 5 minutes to go, or nonsense games that don't mean anything. For him to come on and do a job was just, I'm so proud of that man. And we've got to be very careful what we're doing here. For me, with Devine, he's either going to get minutes this season, whether it be coming off at the end of Premier League games or Carabao Cup and FA Cup, he starts and he wants to take a look at him until January. But if he's not heavily going to feature or get minutes, whether it be as a late sub or whatever, we have to get this guy out on loan and earn some stripes and get some first team football under his belt, because we can't mismanage this dude. Because Johnny, you speak about youngsters coming through and you know a lot more, but this kid is special. This kid can play, and we have to make sure we do it.
I've got to say, I don't know if people realise this, but he was playing out of position today on that right-hand side. He likes to play through the middle. But when you get given the chance to play, it doesn't matter where you get that chance, you take it. You take it. He was impressive today. He was impressive.
One more each. So who are you going with? I'm very surprised you haven't said someone.
Go on. Tell me.
Someone that you got a lot of grief about.
Oh, yeah. I was umming and ahhing whether to go for him or for the other one. So I'll leave the other one for you.
That's exactly where we're going.
Okay. Emerson, man. I mean, honestly, the disrespect this guy gets is unbelievable. I've stood by him right through it all. I've taken so much dog abuse, and still they come and they still slag him off that he's crap, he can't defend, he can't do this, he can't do that. Well, I'm sorry. He came on in that second half and we looked different class, right? He was in the midfield, he was in the defence, he was literally all over the place, right? He was carrying the ball in the middle. He was intercepting. There was one point when the ball came over the top, he was so calm. There was a moment of transition where the ball came over the top. He shielded it. I thought, oh my God, he's maybe taken it too far. He cut back, passed it to Sanchez, then made himself available. Sanchez passed him. And then before we know it, we'd got the ball into the middle of to Celso, across it to Udogie, and the ball's up the other end. It was so swift. All of the movement there, it was so quick. We're used to slow and laborious. The guy can defend, right? The guy can play. If need be, he can play right centre-back. I know no one wants to hear that, but he can. He can play an inverted right back. He is a right back. He played Barcelona as a right back. That's what he is. Just like Reguilon is a left back. He is perfect for this system. For me, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I said it before he signed. for me, inverted right back, Emerson, and I play Porro on the right wing, because Porro crossing that ball is so dangerous. And he has that security, Porro, that, you know, if the ball does come over him, which often it does, you've got Emerson there to tidy it up. He's intelligent enough. And I thought he was very good today. Again, he's got a lot of interest in him. It's funny that, isn't it? Not good enough for a lot of Spurs fans. Interest from Juventus, interest in another couple of big clubs. I hope he stays, and I hope he continues to prove fans wrong, and we grow to love him, not abuse him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have a quick thing. With Emerson, I must admit, I was one of the ones that heavily doubted him. Never abused him, never got like personal or anything like that. But again, we'd signed a right back to play as a right wing back. And I thought, you got to remember, our list of bad right backs since Walker had gone, it just looked like, oh, here's another. But I tell you what, another person that supported Emerson a lot, Nick from Shelfside Spurs. I was doing the watch along with We Are Tottenham TV against Fulham, where Kane equalled Greaves' record. Yeah. And I think it was the first time he played that kind of inverted role. And I don't think he's looked back since. Before he got injured last season, when he was on fire for about a month and a half, 2 months. Still needs to work on his crossing, which is something he can work on. But do you know what? Now we're playing a back four. Him at right back, and do you know what we got told they spent a lot of money to get a gym and all this equipment at his home to help him improve. The grief he was getting, which was undeniable from all over the place. He was also booed or cheered when he went off. I can't remember if it was booed or cheered when I think it was cheered. And cheered when he went off, wasn't he? He was cheered one game, and he thought that he was actually, oh, they like me. If there's a man that deserves a lot of credit just for his moral, his character, his perseverance, his attitude, it's him.
Can I just add to that? Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but it's very important. I happen to know through the people that I know that Emerson actually got through the abuse in quite an interesting way. He got his friends to read the abuse to him every night. Wow. To spur him on while he was training. So he'd come back and he'd train. Did you know he spent nearly 18 months training to be a right centre-back on his own time, practicing the skills? But he used that as a weapon to motivate him. Some would crumble. So to him, to have the level of abuse that he was getting, and he was getting every time he touched the ball, or he didn't cross the ball properly, or something happened, he got that abuse. And I think it's amazing that he turned that around, the negative into a positive. Unfortunately, Sanchez got it so bad he crumbled, but he has amazing strength, and I'm loving the fact that he comes into that training ground every day with a smile on his face. Him, Basuma and Richarlison, they're the characters in they've taken over from Mora, and they're dancing and they're singing and they're getting all the players at it. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that camaraderie and the happiness to be there, not miserable faces.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, when you said that about how he dealt with the abuse and used the spell, all I got pictures in my head right now is when you're watching Rocky movie, he puts the picture on the mirror of his opponent and he goes to the training camp and you have that adrenaline pumping music. So it's a fair play to him. The last one we'll talk about before we go on to the gaffer, Destiny Udogie. Jesus Christ, talk about an impact. You know what? The power, the driving forward, the athleticism, the strength, from just first, and again, you got to remember these are first impressions, and first impressions last, and first game. It's coming to a new team. Come off the bench, a quality header as well, an outstanding header. He took to that team like a duck to water and like he'd been there for ages. And I can't remember for a long time now seeing a left back of ours so powerful, going forward. Probably when Bale started there and started surging forward. I think for first impressions, what a stunning performance from Destiny.
I don't know what he's going to be. I mean, is he going to be? Because I remember watching Bale at 17 for Southampton and thinking, oh my God, this kid's unbelievable. And then when he came to Spurs, I told everyone this kid was unbelievable. And then we proceeded to not win for 23 games when he was in, and I got dog's abuse. But there's something about him that I could see that made him more than a left back. And I'm wondering whether Destiny is going to end up as a attacking left-sided winger more so than a defender. I think he might evolve that way. He hasn't been exposed. I have seen a few games with him where he has been a bit exposed. Going forward, he's a powerhouse. He doesn't just run down the flank. He likes to cut in and he likes to shoot. And that's exciting. I see him within the next couple of years potentially as a really exciting left winger. And we bring in potentially, if Ange is still here, a left back, because I think on one-on-one take-ons, he's going to destroy him. Remember, Solomon can play left and right. So
the versatility coming through. And I have to say, guys, don't forget to post your comments when you're watching this, especially mention your special mentions, the negatives, the positives. We're going to come on to Ange. Smash the like and subscribe. Also, thank you for the wonderful comments Johnny and I got for our net or nothing. Really, really lovely comments. Please keep the comments coming. And now the final subject to talk about, and I'm going to let you go first, Johnny. Our new gaffer.
Fucking Big Ange. Big up for Big Ange. You know what's refreshing? I don't have to listen to a guy who's doing us a favour. I'm Conte. I don't need to be here. I could be somewhere else. Instead, I've got to run this lot, right? This shit, this crap, right? No blame. 3 goals, my fault. Okay. I like his honesty. I like his directness. My only disappointment is that I expected him to turn around and say, I ain't taking those players on the plane because they're not good enough. I believe he already knows certain players aren't good enough. And I don't think being on a plane is going to make any difference to them. But he was refreshing. There was a little comment he made last night while he's here, right? Harry Kane, it was the while he's here, he's now, what does that mean? While he's here. I thought the way he's handling the press conferences is superb. I'm just happy I've got a manager who's proud to be our manager, right? Not doing us a favour. And, we haven't really had that since Poch. Poch was always seemed happy. He was like he was blessed to be in the position. I hope he gets backed. I hope if he doesn't get what he wants, he speaks out. I have heard from someone who's out in Australia with him at the moment that he's very, very vocal if you don't do what he wants. Extremely vocal. I hope he continues. I hope he leads and he sticks to his belief and he does not get polluted by the short mini-me, Daniel Levy, because I kept expecting him to pop out from the bench and Donna Cullen to come out, as a reserve goalkeeper in a tracksuit. I was waiting for it, they need to keep away and let Ange do what he wants to do. No, he wasn't my first choice. He wasn't my second. He wasn't even my 10th choice. But I've warmed to him. I like his style. I like his tactics. Give him the defenders that he needs and let's judge him maybe 10 games in when we start to see the resemblance of his true team. It's too early to judge anything now. We're making judgments based on, playing West Ham, we need a competitive game. I think we'll get more of an idea when we play Shakhtar and Barcelona. That will be our true test.
Of course. I mean, the things I'll say about Ange right now, was he in my... I liked what I was seeing from him. I did mention him when Scott Munn came in, but I said from the beginning Thomas Frank was my number one choice.
Scott Munn?
No, whenever
what
he starts.
What happened to Scott Munn? Has anyone seen Scott
Munn? But I'll tell you what, since this man has come in, we've got a manager that's proud to have got the job. Not just, I'm here, I can walk into this club, look at me, the way he's handling the media, even joking about when Harry Kane questions comes on, even the joke he had about Pep when he was asked about what Pep said about him, and he was like, I don't have him in my phone. The press conferences come, and you're not like, oh, here we go again. What am I going to listen to? Is it going to make sense? Is there going to be...
Who's he going to throw under the bus?
Exactly. And you know what? He's come in. We wanted the attacking football. We've got the attacking football. We've got a manager that's got the man management skills of or traits or attributes like Redknapp and Poch did, which is something we desperately needed. To look at the change in style. You've got to remember, this is a huge style of play change. This is a formation change. And the way they've adapted straight away. And you've got to remember, this time last year, we were seeing players throw up and collapse. This year, it's smiling. Well, yeah, this year it's smiling and togetherness. And do you know what I saw afterwards as well? He even came out and blamed himself for the defensive frailties at set pieces and everything. Rather than going, like you said, rather than throwing people under the bus, he was like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. This is what happened. I take responsibility. And, like we said, some people said, Ange, but I saw some tweets today responding to me saying, Ange ain't going to work. And I was like, do you know what? We asked for attacking football. We've got it. If people remember when Poch came, he was on the verge of losing his job after Villa if Harry Kane hadn't scored that deflected free kick. And look what happened after that. It clicked. All right, it was Bentaleb Mason who came in and started whatever, but look what happened there. So we can't ask for attacking football, get it, and then say, do you know what? It's rubbish. This man has done very well wherever he's gone. Every single team that he's gone to, the fans rave about him. The players wax lyrical. There's no bad stuff coming out of the players that have played for him. I just think it's extremely positive. So that wraps up the first Ange-r management show with me and Johnny. Johnny, very quickly,
Ange-r management.
Thank you for joining me, and tell people how and where they can find you.
Can find me on.
Look at that! First time you did it.
Look at that! I'm getting my fingers. But Johnny H 32. Give me a follow, and I'd love to have you if you come down on the spaces. They'll obviously be much more frequent as the season comes in and we get the signings and stuff. Everyone's welcome. It's not a preaching space. It's a space for diverse opinions. We don't always agree. In fact, we often disagree. But that's what makes the spaces interesting. If you just want to come in and listen, great. If you want to come in and speak, you're more than welcome. Just come and request. Thank you, Brian, for having me on. I'm really looking forward to this season. I'm actually looking forward to talking positively about something, because last season was probably, in all my years supporting Spurs, I've never known anything week after week after week, terrible news, negative news. And it's just so refreshing to be going to bed tonight with a smile on my face, even though we lost 3-2. I'm happy as a Spurs fan.
There you go. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm not going to do my fingers today. I am actually going to end with Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, whoa.
Oh.
See you, peeps.
Tottenham tour. on tour.